This video is a guide on how to do wild RNG manipulation in Pokémon Emerald. To do this, you're going to need a few things to start off with. First of all, you're going to need a retail copy of Pokémon Emerald. You are going to need PokeFinder by Admiral Fish and Eon Timer by Das Ampharos. Links to these can be found in the description. You will also need a Pokemon that knows the move Sweet Scent, and it can also be helpful to have some Master Balls to speed up the process. You can get these by doing the Pokémon Emerald clone glitch. It is also important that you know the values of your Trainer ID and Secret ID. Other than that, you're ready to go. Start by opening PokeFinder and clicking on Gen 3, then click on Wild. Okay, so once you're in the Gen 3 Wild tab of PokeFinder, you're going to go up the top and you're going to want to set your profile, so you don't need your Trainer ID, your Secret ID in the game. You can just set that up in the Manage tab right there. Next, we're going to go to the method, change that to Wild 2, leave the lead, keep the seed blank, because of the way the frames advance in Emerald. Then your initial advances, leave that, max advances, leave that, delay, leave that. And then you're going to change your location to where you are. So we're on Route 113, so we're going to go there, and I'm looking for a Spinder. And we're going to leave the encounter as grass because we're in grass. So the next thing, you set up the stats that you're after, what values there, your ability, you can change that, encounter slot, just leave that, gender, you can change the gender you're after, hidden power you're after, and shiny, you can choose star/square shinies or non-shinies, and that's just going to affect how they're going to look in future games. And then you've got your nature as well, which you can select there. And once we've done that, we can hit generate and see our available spreads. So we're going to go for this one up here, just because it's the closest one, at around 4,000 advances. Then we're going to go to the settings tab of Eon Timer, go timer and set console to NDS slot 2 because we're using a DS original. And then we are going to go to the Gen 3 tab of Eon Timer, set the mode to standard and the pre-timer to 5,000. Then we're going to put in our target frame at 4,597 advances because that's the specific one that we're going for. And once that's done, we can begin our first attempt. So what we're going to do, we're going to start the timer, and then once it counts down, on the last beep, we're going to press A, B, start and select at the same time to restart our game. Then we are going to mash our way back into the game as fast as we can. And we are going to go to our Sweet Center. Now, I did a little bit of a time skip there, so you didn't have to sit all the way through the timer, but when the timer counts down, press A on Sweet Scent at the last beep. And we're going to get our first attempt, and it's not going to be shiny because what we're going to do is need to calibrate a few attempts before we are able to hit our shiny frame. So just go ahead and capture the Pokemon that you're after. If you've got a Master Ball at hand, that's always helpful to make it a bit quicker. And then we're going to go check the summary of the Pokemon we just caught. Now we're going to go back to PokeFinder, and what we're going to do is click on IV Calculator, and that is going to bring up a window here where we can input the statistics of the Pokemon we just caught. So select the Pokemon, so we go Spinder, which is what we just caught. And then we're going to change the nature to careful, and then we're going to go input the rest of its stats. So the level for this one, we had 14, and HP 42, attack 25, defense 21, special attack 19, special defense 26, and speed 23. Cool. And then we're going to go click find IVs, and that is going to change the IV spread up there. So now we're going to deselect shiny, because the one we didn't get was a shiny, change the nature in that corner there, and generate. Okay, so these are the two possible frames that we hit. It's possible that it could have been either one of them, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to do multiple calibrations. So we'll pick the first one, 4,849, and we go back over to Eon Timer and we go to our frame hit and we put that one in there and just click update, and that'll change the calibration. So now we can go for our next attempt doing the same thing that we did last time. And I'll do a time skip again so that it's a bit quicker. Okay, so now that we're back, we just press A on Sweet Scent at the end of the timer. Okay, and this time we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to go catch the Pokemon and check out its stats to try see which frame we hit. Okay, so now we're going to go to IV calculator, change it to Slugma, change the nature, and then input the stats. Hit find IVs. And now we're going to go change the nature in the generator tab, make sure it's not checked to shiny, and we're going to change the Pokemon to Slugma as well, and click generate. Okay, so we've got 4,611 is the frame that we hit, so we are going to update that in the frame hit tab on Eon Timer. And now we just go for another attempt. Same thing again, A, B, start, select as the timer counts down. And I'll see you at the end of the timer. Okay, so we didn't get it this time, but that's okay. So we're just going to do the same thing and recalibrate by inputting the stats. Okay, so we just click generate, and we see we hit 4,592. And we know it's this frame and not the others because we can see that our spin day is level 16 and the others aren't. If there are two Pokemon of the same level, what you can just do is see which frame is relatively closest to the one that you're aiming for, and it's likely going to be that. So now what I'm doing here is I'm just resetting the stats to 0, and I'm going to go to an initial advance that is very close to the frame that we're hitting so that we can see the frames lined out in a linear fashion. So for quicker resets, so we've got our shiny spread there. For quicker resets, once we're within a few frames of our target, we can start just looking at the nature just to speed things up. And then when we have the spread here, if we see that we hit the jolly frame, we know that we're very close, and we might need to calibrate by a small amount, and it just speeds up the resets. So a handy tip there. But for this one, we know that we hit the calm frame, so we update that and we can go for our next attempt. Okay, so same as always, Aeon Sweet Scent at the end of the last beep. And there you go, there's our shiny Spinder. So it can take a few attempts to get this right, but as long as you're able to hit frames that are close to the target that you're looking for, it's really only a matter of time before you start hitting it. And if looking at just the nature isn't helping, you can go back and put in the IVs to try get a more thorough understanding about where you are. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and catch this, and we'll input the stats to show that this is the Spinder that we were aiming for and not just a random shiny. And there you go, so you can see that the Spinder that we got was the same Spinder that we were aiming for. Thank you so much for watching. Below I'm going to link some resources which can further help with any questions you might have.